Humans willingly pay corporations to systematically rot their own teeth, expand their waistlines, and disrupt their cellular chemistry. A modern supermarket aisle contains more concentrated sweetness than a Pleistocene hunter-gatherer would encounter in an entire lifetime. Yet the human brain registers this biological hazard not as a threat, but as a supreme victory. We walk into a grocery store, see a wall of brightly colored high-fructose corn syrup, and our biochemistry celebrates as if we just conquered a continent. It is a profound existential contradiction. The substance that accelerates modern chronic disease triggers the exact same neurological reward pathways as survival itself. We believe humans are the master architects of the modern world. The reality is humiliating. Sugar completely hijacked the human brain, and our species simply let it happen. The prevailing modern narrative blames this public health crisis entirely on a collective failure of human willpower. Self-help gurus and dietary guidelines urge the population to exercise self-control, count calories, and resist temptation. This perspective assumes that modern humans possess a broken internal compass, or that modern society has simply grown too lazy to make rational choices. It treats obesity and metabolic dysfunction as moral failings rather than biological inevitabilities. We tell ourselves that an intelligent species should easily perceive the danger of a donut. We assume that education and nutrition labels are sufficient tools to override an appetite. This assumption is completely wrong because it ignores 300,000 years of evolutionary pressure. Human willpower was never designed to fight chemistry. But here's what actually happened. For 99% of human history, calories were exceptionally rare and highly unpredictable. The ancestral landscape offered no supermarkets, no fast food windows, and no processed snacks. In the Pleistocene epoch, starvation was a constant, looming threat to survival. Under these brutal conditions, encountering a source of pure sugar was the ultimate evolutionary lottery win. A wild beehive or a bush of ripe seasonal berries represented a massive injection of immediate energy. Energy meant survival. Survival meant the opportunity to pass genes to the next generation. Nature therefore implemented a strict evolutionary policy. If humans found sugar, we had to consume every single drop before another animal did. The human tongue evolved highly specialized receptors explicitly tuned to detect sweetness above all other flavors, signaling the brain that safe, dense fuel had arrived. To ensure humans never walked away from these rare caloric jackpots, the brain developed an intense neurological reinforcement mechanism. A study published by the Max Planck Institute for Metabolism Research in 2023 demonstrated that the consumption of high-fat, high-sugar foods fundamentally rewires the human brain. The research showed that even brief exposure to these modern combinations changes how the brain perceives reward, maximizing dopamine release. This response dates back to our ancestors, where dopamine served as an internal save button, ordering the body to remember exactly where that sweetness was found. Our ancestors did not possess an off switch for sugar, because an off switch would have meant death by starvation during the next winter. The human brain evolved to be fundamentally insatiable. We are the descendants of the greediest gatherers. This ancient survival programming functioned perfectly until a massive historical accident occurred. Humans transitioned from wandering foragers to industrial agriculturalists, eventually learning how to mass-produce pure sucrose from sugarcane and corn. Suddenly, a substance that used to appear once a season became available every second of every day. The environment changed completely, but the human genome remained locked in the Stone Age. Today, food corporations exploit this precise evolutionary mismatch. Scientists at the Monell Chemical Senses Center identified what they call the bliss point, the precise concentration of sugar that maximizes dopamine release without overwhelming the palate. It is a calculated biological trap. Modern humans now swim in an artificial ocean of cheap, hyper-palatable calories, guided by a brain architecture that still genuinely believes we are starving on the African savanna.
The consequences of this evolutionary mismatch extend far beyond widening waistlines. The human immune system and the gut microbiome are now caught in the crossfire of this prehistoric programming. A study from Yale University in 2021 revealed that excessive sugar intake directly alters the composition of gut bacteria, suppressing the beneficial microbes that regulate inflammation and mood. By feeding our ancient desire for sweetness, we are inadvertently starving the microscopic allies that keep our bodies stable. The very organ that demands the sugar, the brain, is systematically degraded by the resulting systemic inflammation. We altered our entire planetary food supply to satisfy a neural reward loop that was meant to protect us from starvation. Instead of securing our survival, our ancient survival mechanism has become the leading driver of our collective biological decline.
Consider the morning routine of the average modern professional. We reach for a sweetened coffee, a bowl of processed cereal, or a flavored yogurt. To our conscious mind, this is just a quick, comforting breakfast before work. To our ancient brain chemistry, however, this moment is a monumental triumph. The dopamine surge convinces our biology that we have successfully tracked down a massive, hidden grove of ripe fruit, securing our survival for weeks. The modern food industry has successfully commodified a prehistoric state of emergency. Every single bite of processed sweetness is an exploitation of a primitive instinct that humans cannot naturally override. We are not weak-willed consumers making poor choices. We are ancient primates living inside a beautifully constructed commercial trap designed specifically to exploit our evolutionary history.
The ultimate tragedy of this biological hijacking is that knowledge alone cannot break the loop. Even as we analyze the data and understand the evolutionary trap, the dopamine pathways remain completely indifferent to modern science. The tongue tastes, the brain rewards, and the hand reaches for the shelf. Our species successfully conquered the threat of starvation only to build a world where abundance achieves the exact same lethal result. The next time a sweet craving strikes, remember that it is not a personal failure, but the ghost of a starving Pleistocene ancestor screaming inside human DNA. Our ancient programming ensured our survival in a world of scarcity, but it left us entirely defenseless against a world of plenty. Understanding this biological trap is the first step towards surviving it.